Hello, welcome here from Malaysia. The next video we're going to look at is a construction that has just gone underway. The frame and the externals of the house are all up, and they're now working on the insides of the home. And I'm going to be briefing the painters on what to do and those sorts of things. So, hope you find it interesting. There's this concept of electronic pollution. The problem is that most houses have, because of their wiring and their exposure to cell phone towers, have an enormous amount of radiation exposure. And that's not good for us during the day, but especially at nighttime it's detrimental. If we can reduce what people are exposed to, then their health is not as burdened, and then their bodies can do what they can to recover. There's an ever-increasing amount of mobile phone towers around, and we all cop our fair share of exposure to those. Okay, here we are at the building site here in Thailand. So we're going to take some measurements. Okay, nice overlapping. We need at least an inch. Well, here we are, Dubai, very close to the border with Oman. This instrument measures in microvolts. It measures the body. The externals have all been shielded. What do you expect of your four walls? Alright, here we are at the property where we're checking it all out about a year ago. We had the local distribution lines on the street behind us and measuring those magnetic fields in. This is where the building ended up. Not finished yet, but let's see how they're going and what we're going to do with the shielding, what the levels are now. So we help people create healthier homes. Good home for the lifestyle, but also good for you. Mobile phone towers, smart meters, Wi-Fi, all high frequency radiation.
Right.
Electrical wires ooze electric fields, 2 meters out, 50 hertz a second. So one thing where you'll be getting involved with this is that we have shielding paint. It has a high graphite and carbon content. And then the tricky part is how the particles line up when it dries. That gives us this highest performance in terms of reflection of those sorts of high frequency radiation.
Right.
It's easy to apply, 10-year-olds could do it, but you guys would do a prettier job with it, I'm sure. So basically the idea of this, first of all, if you have a wall that's never been painted before and you're going to expect a lot of suction, then of course this is a very expensive primer to start putting on their first gun. So you might, from a cost perspective, you'd be better off putting some undercoat on the wall first just to take the suction away, because otherwise you got very expensive paint disappearing for no good reason. Mm-hmm. Then basically with this, the idea is that a box is created. So here we have a metal roof which already becomes part of that shielding.
Right.
The metal reflects.
Yes.
And so the walls will then be painted. So normally one layer of the paint is applied to the walls. You normally do that with a rough surface roller, something you would paint bricks with.
Okay.
So you get a decent layer, rather than a foam roller which would give you a very thin layer.
Right. So thicker is better.
Thicker is better. I mean, because you don't want the clumps on the
of
wall,
course.
but a decent layer. The thinner you make this, the more you're thinning out the effect of it, the shielding of it.
Okay.
So one layer goes on, it dries, it starts drying in 30 minutes, you can overpaint it in 2 hours, so it's relatively quick. It won't have that, I don't know, you're probably used to it, but that pinchy, nasty smell that most paints have. Mm-hmm. This has a VOC of 0.2. Anyway, so everything's painted. We normally, if we don't shield the floor, we don't worry about the skirting boards. That extra 5-7 centimeters is not going to make any difference in terms of this. Especially when people are overpainting, that's always tricky to get those our skirting boards looking nice again.
Yes.
Window trims. So you've got to concentrate on the plaster. One coat goes on, so second coat goes on later. But what's interesting is that this paint also needs to be grounded, and it's grounded typically to the grounding of the electrical system.
Okay.
And so with this paint you'll be getting a grounding tape. A little bit like it's like an aluminium looking tape with the backing on it, and the adhesive is highly electrically conductive. That's the big difference about it. Normally adhesives are kind of insulating. So when you've got this first layer of paint on the walls, This tape needs to go around the room, up a corner, and if the ceiling, if the ceiling is being painted as well, then the tape needs to go up the corner and along one side of the ceiling. What this tape is for is that, you know how buildings over time will move and you might have a little bit of a hairline crack?
Yes.
Then these two panels are no longer connected.
Right.
And what this tape does, it bridges that gap where it to come into existence. Okay, it's always interesting to see sort of the feedback we get from professional painters. It's just so simple to implement this stuff. Even your ordinary family who doesn't paint that often can do this very successfully. Of course, we're available to assist if that's necessary. Normally no big deal, no big problem. Anyway, hope you found this all educational. Please subscribe to our newsletter, follow our channel, and investigate some more on our website, radiationfreebuilding.com.